Minnesota is on the cusp of seeing unprecedented growth in the senior population. The number of people who turned 65 this decade is more than the previous 3 decades combined. Cities are working now to prepare to better serve this growing population.
Our aging population is our fastest growing population, and this will be the first time as well that our aging population outnumbers the number of kids that we have in school.
Kelly Murtis is one of the Brooklyn Park staff members who has been working on making the city more age-friendly. This week, the City Council heard about a series of action plans that staff members have been developing over the past few years. For example, making city buildings easier to navigate and access, which was accomplished in the recent City Hall remodel. Another example would be making font easier to read on city publications. The city believes steps like these can help encourage people to stay in Brooklyn Park as they get older.
And to make sure that we're providing the services, that we have resources, that we're meeting the needs of people who are aging so they can stay in Brooklyn Park.
Most of these action steps have been integrated into the current work of the department, so there is not an extra cost. This plan means Brooklyn Park will be the 5th city to join the AARP network of age-friendly communities. Maple Grove is already a member. Plymouth has decided to take steps to be green without taking up an official program called GreenSteps. In a 4-3 vote, the City Council chose to avoid joining the Minnesota GreenStep Cities program. It encourages cities to implement best practices for sustainability and environmental protections. Some examples are better stormwater management, building or retrofitting city buildings for greater efficiency, and focusing on local air quality. Citizens both for and against spoke for over an hour about the proposal.
This discussion tonight is about so much more than the GreenStep Cities program. It's about whether Plymouth is going to step up and at least try to keep up with what our neighboring cities are doing to make it attractive to live and do business in our community.
Anyone who has worked with OSHA or EPA knows that these programs all started out with good intentions. But once the bureaucrats went to work, then we ended up with a burden on the community.
Some council members pointed out that not being in the program doesn't mean the city won't strive for sustainable goals. Meanwhile, the growing baby boomer population is also creating a need for more self-storage. Units have popped up around the nation, and New Hope is now responding to how the self-storage boom is impacting their city. There are 8 self-storage facilities in New Hope. In the past few years, we've seen the national boom in commercial and industrial buildings being converted into self-storage facilities impact several cities. The New Hope City Council approved an ordinance change allowing these facilities only in business warehouse districts as a way of limiting where future self-storage facilities could go.
What we're seeing is a loss of employment opportunities. Because I think if we were to look and see the number of employees that work at these buildings, it's very few, a fraction of what used to occupy these buildings.
The ordinance change did pass through the council. Some cities like Coon Rapids have gone as far as placing moratoriums on self-storage development. Wayzata High School students and teachers have a new method to reduce waste during lunch. It's called the share table. Unwanted lunch foods that are unused and unopened, like juice, packaged goods, and whole fruits, can go on the table. Students say since starting the project, they've noticed a reduction of waste in trash bins. Students say another benefit to the share table is that it allows those in need to get healthy snacks for free.
If you don't get enough of certain foods, you can become tired, like you don't want to participate in certain activities and stuff like that. I feel like if you get, especially like apples and stuff like that for certain classes, that can even help your performance while taking tests and just focusing at school.
Teachers hope the share table will create a culture of awareness around food waste. You may think ice fishing is a sport only for outstate Minnesota, but that's not true. The Three Rivers Park District is trying to introduce more people to ice fishing. They hosted the first Try It fishing event out on Fish Lake in Maple Grove, and our photojournalist Ben Kroll was there.
This is our first ever Try It ice fishing event here at Fish Lake Regional Park. For a lot of our participants today, it's their first time on the ice, and we're excited to just introduce them to that and show them that they can be on the ice and it's a safe thing. This is a free event where it's more of a taste. You get to just see some of the stuff happening and check out some of the equipment and see some of the gear.
I think it will be fun. I think it's going to be a learning experience, just to see the process of how, what to do, and maybe it's something that we enjoy doing and we can do it as a family.
Jigging it is kind of like dancing the jig. So I'm just going to take it, I'm going to move the rod and just bounce it around like that, okay, Hemdy?
But you have to like do this?
Yeah, you have to do that. That's perfect.
How do you know when a fish is there?
It's going to pull like this. Kids have great questions. Simply everything from how do I fish, meaning how do I use this fishing reel, which is opening a bail and dropping down a line, and maybe they haven't done that before, to what is this bait and is it alive, and what are we catching and what are we trying to fish for?
I have never gone fishing before. I'm also trying to overcome my fear of fish. I don't like fishing because I don't like touching fish.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of hesitations for people to get on the ice.
And like in the winter it's much colder, so they'd want to stay inside.
On a nice 25 to 40 degree day, which we sometimes get here in Minnesota with little wind, this is a great opportunity to get out and do something that not a lot of Minnesotans have done.
The Try It fishing event on Fish Lake attracted around 700 people.
It's been a pretty good run for Wayzata head football coach Lambert Brown in the last few months, including a state championship and this week a trip to the Super Bowl. John Jacobson caught up with Brown before he left for Florida.
The Minnesota Vikings chose Lambert Brown as their franchise's nominee for the Don Shula High School Coach of the Year award. That earned he and his wife Lindsay a week in Orlando for last week's Pro Bowl.
32 coaches down there, so we spent the week together. We just got a chance to get to know each other, talk a little football, talk a lot about program. I think probably the most special part was just really being around a bunch of like-minded coaches who are all down there, and I think it was fun to talk about, hey, how do you do this play and this play, but I think really the vast majority of the conversations were really revolved around like what's everybody doing for kids? What's everybody doing to make football special in their community?
Matt Land of Dalton, Georgia, was named the winner of the Coach of the Year. The runner-up, Coach Brown. And the NFL is sending both men to the Super Bowl. Another weekend for Lambert and Lindsay in the sun, while figuring out who will take care of their kids back here in Minnesota.
Obviously, we're really excited, and then quickly went into like the logistic part of like who's getting the kids to school Thursday and Friday, and who can take care of the kids this weekend, and those are fun things to have to worry about, so we're not complaining.
The Trojans' 13-0 season and state title brought a lot of recognition to the Wayzata football program. Coach Brown says he is just a face in Miami this week of a supportive Wayzata school and community.
To be able to walk the hall and to think about, I think people are saying congratulations to me, and there's just a lot of people I didn't want to say just thank you to, because I know that without them that I wouldn't get a chance to do this, and I'm really thankful for everybody for making this happen.
In addition to Sunday's big game, Coach Brown says he and his wife attend the NFL Honors Awards on Saturday. Well, the regular season wrapped up this week in girls hockey. Maple Grove finished Northwest Suburban Conference play as they faced off against Rogers. On a Maple Grove power play, Lauren Stensley slides it across to Jenna Tim, and she scores from a shallow angle to give the Crimson a 1-0 lead. Stensley adds to that lead with a goal on the rush here as Maple Grove goes up 2-0 about midway through the opening period. But Rogers comes back strong. Down 2-1, Emma Rooks takes the pass and plays it around the defenseman and then fires the shot home. The Royals with a good comeback to tie it 2-2 after one. In period number 2, Michaela Macklett plays it past the Rogers defenders and gets a backhander on net. It rolls away from the goalie, and Stella Rettram tucks it in for a 3-2 Crimson lead. Then tied at 3 in the third when Tristana Tater digs the puck loose and sets up Macklett for the goal. Maple Grove wins it 5-4. Section play gets started next Saturday, February 8th for the Crimson and Royals. In girls basketball, Maple Grove was riding a 5-game winning streak in their all-time series against arch rival Osseo, and the teams met up earlier this week. Box out cancer night at Osseo with $1,500 raised by the local basketball community. And the Orioles hang in it early. Ava Holman with a nice feed to Isabel Cronin, and Osseo's up 10-9. Jaden Klein is Osseo's leading scorer this season. This three-pointer ties the game at 22. Klein scores 12 on the night. But the Crimson go on a 17-5 scoring run to close out the first half. Jordan Lampker hits a 3 here. She scores 15 in the game. Then it's Izzy Brandt hitting one of her 5 threes on the night. Maple Grove goes into halftime with a 39-27 lead. Early in the second half, and Abby Schulte gets the ball in the paint and turns and scores to help the Crimson lead expand to 15. Schulte, who went over 1,000 career points earlier in the week in a win over Centennial, scores 18 points for the Crimson. They pull away and beat Osseo 71-42. They host Blaine and Coon Rapids in the week ahead.
6 made 3-pointers in the game for